Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about the psychological effects of hearing loss, specifically in the aging population. I'm not only going to be talking about the psychological effects, but also some physical effects and some emotional effects. Hearing loss is a very common part of aging. However, it oftentimes affects people in multiple ways and not just their hearing. About 25% of those ages 65 to 74 have significant hearing loss, and the percentage increases to 50% for those over the age of 75. However, although this number is so high, a majority of this population fails to seek treatment or use a hearing aid or hearing device, but I'm going to talk more about that later. Like I said before, it isn't just about hearing. Having a hearing loss can completely cut you off from the world and lead to many other emotional impacts. Many people who have hearing loss tend to withdraw from having a social life and oftentimes suffer from depression. Someone who suffers from a hearing loss may be discouraged due to the fact that they cannot participate in conversation and would rather isolate themselves altogether to prevent this. Oftentimes, they will get frustrated or angry because they cannot communicate with friends or loved ones the same way that they used to. Relationships become more distant due to the discouragement people with hearing loss feel, and they prefer to cut themselves off than to struggle to communicate. A lot of people also think that of elderly people as angry or mad all the time, but in reality, they may be frustrated and lash out at people for not speaking up or for mumbling because they cannot understand them. Decreased personal safety, cognitive decline, and poor health issues are also factors of hearing loss, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. There are many physical challenges that come with having a hearing loss, and this usually isn't something that someone thinks of as being a challenge when they think of people with hearing loss. But failure to hear can result in not being able to hear certain things like sirens or alarms, which can be detrimental in certain situations. It can also result in not hearing doctors' instructions, which again can be very dangerous when it comes to getting information on medication or other things they need to know. Like I said before, isolation is a main side effect of hearing loss in the elderly. Those who are socially isolated are more likely to have unhealthy eating habits, drink more alcohol, and exercise less, which obviously is has negative effects on the body. It also has been reported that hearing loss can cause certain balance issues. Those with hearing loss are 3 times more likely to suffer a fall than those without. There are also many cognitive effects that come along with hearing loss in the elderly population. In a study done at Johns Hopkins, volunteers with hearing loss were given cognition tests over a 6-year period, and the results were recorded. So we found out that the volunteers' cognitive abilities declined 30 to 40% faster than those without hearing loss. Levels of declining brain function were directly related to the severity of the hearing loss in the volunteer. On average, older adults with hearing loss develop significant impairments in their cognitive abilities 3.2 years sooner than those with normal hearing. And the possible explanation that they had for this included the ties between hearing loss and social isolation. We already know that with loneliness, it's a big risk factor for cognitive decline, and hearing loss may force the brain to devote too much of its energy to processing sound and not enough time to processing memory or hearing. Our results show that hearing loss cannot be considered an inconsequential part of aging because it may come with some serious long-term consequences or healthy brain function, they said. When it comes to treatment for hearing loss, many cases of hearing loss in the elderly do go untreated. Only 20% of individuals who have hearing loss who would benefit from treatment actually do seek help, and those who do seek treatment usually wait until they have limited communication. On average, hearing aid users wait over 10 years into having a hearing loss to actually get a hearing aid. And one of the main reasons for this is because a lot of elderly people are usually in denial that they have a hearing loss. And the main reason for this is because of the stigma surrounding hearing loss and those who have it. Elderly people also do not like to accept the fact that they are getting older and that these things happen to a lot of older people, which is a completely normal part of aging. And I'm going to end with this quote I saw. It says, "The impact of hearing loss is not simply measured in decibels. Hearing loss is an individual experience, and how the individual copes will depend on a great many factors. including early versus late onset, the progressive nature of the loss, gradual versus sudden, the severity of the loss, communication demands, and personality. Two people could have the exact same hearing loss, but that does not mean they are going to react the same or have the same side effects. Every hearing loss is different and it should be treated that way.